the keynote address, well, which is going to talk about the mammoth subject, delighting the next billion customers. I'm going to be roping in Jim Tincher, the global CX expert, journey mapper, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Well, I'm already looking forward to the conversation there. Over to you there.
Hi, this is Jim Tincher. I am the mapper-in-chief and founder at Heart of the Customer, a journey improvement firm. I'm also well known for being one of the co-authors of How Hard Is It to Be Your Customer, using journey mapping to drive customer-focused change. And today I want to talk to you about customer experience, about digital, and why, even though the book's only 18 months old, the title might be a little bit obsolete. When we talk about a rational approach to harnessing the power of customer emotions. And what's really exciting is that even though clearly we're undergoing a worldwide pandemic and there's plenty of bad news, there's also good news. We're actually entering a special time where the future of customer experience is really being developed now. There's many of you may be familiar with something that caught customer experience a little bit by surprise back in December, when Forrester's Harley Manning predicted that 1 out of 4 customer experience professionals would lose their job this year. And of course, that was before COVID. But I guess I wasn't surprised. Now, he was talking about the reason they would lose their jobs is because they weren't showing any business impact. But a year earlier, Bob Thompson of Customer Think did a pretty thorough analysis of the customer experience capabilities, and he reported that only 1 out of 4 customer experience programs could show any business or competitive impact. Now, being a customer experience geek, that got me really interested. So on one side, Forrester is saying that 1 out of 4 programs are going to be fired because they can't show impact. Customer Think is showing that 1 out of 4 can show that impact. I wanted to know what separates these two. And what you're going to learn today, this is the first time we're sharing it. It's a year-long journey for us to understand what really drives customer experience impact, whether that's through digital or analog touch points. What is it that separates those who are going to be fired with those who are being celebrated? And most importantly, what can you do to make sure that you're part of the great Customer Think list and not part of Forrester's list? So let's go ahead and hop into this today. And really, we're going to focus on 3 areas. First is emotions. Now, of course, we're going to talk about emotions. That's the whole topic of the speech, is rational approach to harnessing the power of customer emotions. Of course, we're going to start with emotions. But from there, we're going to talk about how to help your whole organization react around emotions through change management, and then how to create a stable and solid experience that continues on through using data and technology. So let's go ahead and hop into this. We talk about emotion. Now, this is hardly your first ever customer experience keynote that talks about emotion. That probably shouldn't be a surprise. In fact, you can't go to any customer experience keynote or workshop without hearing about the importance of designing for emotion. But what we've learned is that that's actually wrong. It is a mistake to design for emotion. Now, that might be kind of crazy. Why are we having a talk about the rational approach to harnessing the power of customer emotions, and Jim's saying that emotions don't matter? I'm saying that you do not want to design for emotion. You want to design for one emotion. And that subtle difference makes a world of change. It's understanding what is that one emotion we want to change. Now, before I get too much of the emotion, I want to take a minute and talk about something we've seen happening throughout the customer experience industry that may be a bit misguided. Not wrong, but misguided. And that is the focus on creating an effortless experience. Now, this whole notion came out about, 6, 7 years ago when the CEB, now part of Gartner, came out with the book, The Effortless Experience. And their research showed that in customer service interactions, they found that making the experience easy was a better predictor of loyalty than creating a wow experience. And that's led to a whole focus on removing friction from the experience. The customer effort score has been big. And that's not wrong, but it's not quite right either. So let's go a little bit deeper into there and look at that. So first of all, if you are designing an experience all around reducing friction, you have a round hole. The challenge is that the customer, a loyal customer, is a square peg. Because working on reducing friction, while important, does not create a loyal customer. All it does is prevent disloyalty. Let me go a little bit deeper into that. One of the biggest challenges to loyalty is when a problem happens. Certainly, creating a friction-free experience reduces the amount of times problems happen, and that is good. And you should work on making your experience easier to work with. But that's not sufficient to create a loyal customer. And to go a little bit deeper into this, I'd like to bring out some experience or some research from the Temkin Group, now part of Qualtrics's XM Institute, and work they did a few years ago about the power of an emotional experience. And so in their work, they really found that emotions matter the most. They use a methodology, it's not dissimilar from Forrester, another customer experience thought leader, in that they look at effectiveness of an experience, ease of an experience, and then the emotional impact of that experience. And like Forrester, they found that emotions are the best predictor of loyalty. And looking further into the research, they found that when the emotional experience is rated highly, first of all, customers are going to promote you and recommend you more often. You can see here that when it's rated highly, 76% of customers are promoters. But when the experience is not rated so highly, then what happens? Well, only 6% are likely to promote you. Now, more important than we look at loyalty is forgiving you for when things go wrong. Because even in the best experience, sometimes things go wrong. Well, emotions are essentially an inoculation. A strong emotional experience creates that halo that will protect you when things go badly. And in this case, what they found is that when the experience is rated highly, the emotional experience, then 63% of customers will forgive you for a problem. But if you haven't created that strong emotional impact, you haven't designed your experience around one emotion, well then, only 11% will forgive you for a problem. Now, when we look at these emotions, we're not talking just about that in-person shopping experience. Emotions are true through any type of experience, whether analog or digital. And to highlight this, I brought along a friend. Well, okay, I didn't really bring her along, but I'd like to profile for a minute Roxy Strollmentor. Now, Roxy was one of the CXPA's Innovation Award winners this year, or Impact Award winners. She is the Vice President of Customer Experience Strategy for UKG. UKG is a recent merger of Ultimate Software and Kronos. And what they do is they create software for payroll and benefits and other HR responsibilities. Not necessarily the first place you'd think of for an emotional experience, but Roxy's found that emotions are one of the best predictors of customer loyalty. Roxy came from Forrester, and so she's very familiar with the research on emotion. In fact, she wrote a lot of that research. And she came in and she wanted to understand, what is the role of emotion in our experience? She knew it was there, but what exactly is it? So she had us go out and do some journey mapping with her group, bring her executives out to meet customers firsthand and look at the emotion. She also did a survey across the industry of different emotions and how that related to self-professed loyalty. But then she also brought that, and in a theme we're going to talk more about, she looked at the internal data. And she looked at what do emotions predict as far as how her customers behave. She wasn't trying to optimize a service score. She was looking at, for example, churn. Now, churn in software is hard because it's very expensive to replace, but she looked for that. But also cost to serve. Were customers taking up a lot of time? Were they angry? Were they escalating? Or were they using self-help tools? She also looked at things like, do they purchase additional products from them? And when she did this, she found a number of loyalty building emotions, as well as a number of loyalty destroying emotions, and they're different. But the overall most important emotion was confidence. And so Roxy used this one emotion to cause Ultimate Software, and now UKG, to think differently about the experience. Now, emotion is no strange to Ultimate, it's where she started out. They call their employees peeps, and they're very passionate. They deliberately hire for empathy rather than HR skills, saying it's a lot easier to teach you about payroll than it is to teach you to be empathetic. And so they, as a company, they get emotions, but they hadn't designed their experience specifically around one emotion. When they measured the experience, they measured Net Promoter Score. So let's look at two scenarios. Now, this data is made up, but you're a customer experience leader and you're meeting with the head of your digital team or a certain product, and you tell them overall, again, made up data, 72% of our customers express confidence. But for your product, it's 43%. That's a powerful conversation. She's actually found one of the biggest loyalty destroying experience or emotions is frustration. Similar if you say, hey, 28% of your customers are frustrated versus 13% across the board. That's a very powerful conversation. Contrast that to our Net Promoter Score is 53, and for your product is 37. Yeah, that means something, but what? What do I do about that? Whereas instead you say your confidence is low, your frustration is high, that leads to a much more productive conversation about how do we improve the experience. And Roxys uses to really help Ultimate think differently about how to create loyal customers through a digital platform. And it's really powerful to do that. Now, that's not only Roxy. One of my favorite examples of using a digital platform to reaffirm emotions comes from the product TurboTax. Now, I know we have a global audience today and not everybody's familiar with the US tax code. That's okay. I'm not really familiar with it either. But the key thing to know is that working on your taxes is frustrating. And so a rational approach would be to say, let's just remove every possible extra click. Let's make a frictionless experience. But that's not what Intuit did, the creators of TurboTax. Yes, they work a lot to remove friction, no question about it. But they did something that maybe you didn't expect. They added a specific extra unnecessary step for customers in that they add prompts like this. How do you feel about doing your taxes? And if you choose not so good, okay, we get it. The tax code is pretty crazy. We've got help options every screen to make things a lot less taxing. Now, I don't know specifically what emotion TurboTax is going after. I'm suspecting feeling supported is one. But rather than focusing entirely on creating a frictionless experience, they've gone out of their way to optimize the emotional experience by adding an unnecessary step to reassure their customers that TurboTax has their back. Fantastic. And so the really key important thing to do is to start with one emotion, because focusing on one emotion allows you to rally your teams. If you tell your teams create an emotionally positive experience, there are 1,000 different things they can do to do that. But if you take the time to analyze, this is our one emotion we want to optimize, that brings teams together and create a more streamlined approach to optimize the outcomes. And so that's the first step, is identify your one emotion. The next thing then, though, is to get your whole team on board. And that's that second pillar of change management. When we see a program that is a flavor of the day, odds are this is the area they're missing. And I love this quote from the IHI, Paul Batalden. Every system is perfectly designed to get the result it gets. The role of change management is to redesign the company and the experience to create more loyal customers, customers who want to spend more with you and who will be less expensive to serve. It's better for everybody. And here I want to promote Jen Zamora. Jen is the Senior Director of Customer and Employee Experience at Dow. Dow is a global material sciences company. They're known for chemicals, but they work in overall material sciences, global, over 100-year-old company. And Jen was put in charge of changing the customer experience. A big, big job. I can still remember when I met Jen first, about 2.5 years ago, when they brought us on board to help understand their customer journey. We started on the complaints experience because that is a big moment of truth in a customer relationship. And I still remember vividly hearing Jen say, our goal is to create an enjoyable chemical ordering complaints experience. I say it again, an enjoyable chemical ordering complaints experience. Now, those are words that I wouldn't even think go together. And I told her, I think I heard you wrong to say it again. And she said, yeah, we want to create an enjoyable chemical ordering complaints experience. Not easy, not effective, although she wants those too, but enjoyable. And she has the data to back that up. She can show that when they make an enjoyable experience, customers find it easier to work with Dow more often. They find it pleasurable. They want to work with Dow more often because they know Dow has their back and Dow will help them accomplish their goals. Easy and effective are table stakes. It's when you can make the experience enjoyable. That's when you can really make a difference. And that blew me away. But again, she has the data to back it up. She shows that they actually do create an enjoyable experience. And then it comes back to, and again, here's our third theme. Their data shows that when they make it enjoyable, customers order more and they're less expensive to serve. A fantastic outcome. And so working with Jen and others, we've developed a customer experience change management model. Now, you may be familiar with ADCAR or John Cotter's change. We love both of those. We brought them together along with what real customer experience people do. And we've talked to hundreds of them this year to understand what really makes a difference. And let's look quickly at these 8 steps. So first of all, it's creating a compelling case, a business case. It's finding that outcome, the intersection between when the customer experience is strong and when the business is strong, which means going beyond a survey score, but actually showing how you're changing business outcomes. What we found for the best programs is that they are looking more at business outcomes, not survey scores. Now, if you're in a large consumer products or consumer B2C company, you can probably equate your survey scores with revenue. When we look at business to business, that can be really hard. And so Jen's a great example. Roxy does the same thing, is they look at more granular outcomes. Like Roxy looks for who's a referenceable customer or upsells to new products and lower cost to serve. Jen, looking at chemicals, again, she also looks at lower cost to serve, but also product margin and order velocity. These more granular outcomes are a little bit easier to tie customer experience to.
Well, Jim, thank you very much for all the perspectives that really flown in across to us via the screen.